Every once in a while, an entrepreneur comes along and reshapes our everyday life with their ideas. Today, we're diving into the story of Miki Agrawal, a visionary who has consistently turned personal challenges into revolutionary products.
I would just say it's just constantly in the creative process. And I just love the process of creating.
Miki's narrative is a story of meaningful transformation. From pioneering gluten-free dining concepts to revolutionizing women's health products, her ventures reflected deep engagement with real-world challenges.
So the first question is, what sucks in my world? So there has to be a pain point that starts with me.
Miki's personal approach to entrepreneurship is a powerful reminder of how personal experiences, when harnessed correctly, can lead to widespread impact. I'm Dr. Jessica Kriegel, and this is Culture Leaders, where we decode the magic behind the masters of movements to unleash the power of culture. This is the story of Miki Agrawal, master of a movement that intertwines creativity with entrepreneurship, transforming personal challenges into universal solutions.
You're listening to a Culture Partners production.
Miki, I am just starstruck and so excited to have you on the show today. And I can't wait to hear your answer to our first question, which we ask everyone, which is, what is your why?
I would just say it's just constantly in the creative process. And I just love the process of creating.
I think that's brilliant. You know, I saw an Instagram the other day about some monk or, I don't know, guru talking about, someone asked me what my why is. Who said I had a why? Why do I need a why? If I need a why, then I need something that I'm always trying to accomplish. Why don't I just enjoy the process? It feels like that's your answer, that you're just in the flow.
Just in the creative flow and in the creative process. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think that maybe makes you very unique in the world of entrepreneurship anyway, and why so many people look up to you. So I have 1,000 questions. I want to start by going back. I feel like people's superpower often comes from experiences that they had earlier in their life that maybe weren't necessarily the greatest experiences. And I've heard you talk a little bit about yours. Can you share what got that fire in your belly or where you come from?
I mean, I'm half Japanese, half Indian from India. My dad's from India, and I grew up in French Canada in Montreal, as you're French as well, which I love. And I think I just grew up where we got to debate a lot around the table, like around the dinner table. We just got to look at different things from different perspectives all the time and just constantly debate about well, you're looking at it from this perspective. Well, what about that perspective? What about this perspective? And I think it was always welcome to have a healthy debate. And so I think I just never accepted the status quo of anything and just always questioned it. It's like, why is it done this way? Is there a better way? Is that the only way? Because there can't be the only way. There's got to be another way because there's many ways to do all kinds of things because everything in the world is made up. And so money's made up. Time is made up. I mean, everything is made up. So why can't we invent new possibilities that feel really, really good to all of us? It's even better and better.
Yeah, one of the things I've heard you talk about that I've been pondering a lot is the idea of, if I'm trying to sell something to people in the language that they want, or I'm trying to figure out what people want to hear so that I can get more viewers or get more clients, then you're on the wrong track. You
Right.
start by looking inward, right? And what it is that you want a solution to or what you want to say. Can you talk about that? Because I think people struggle with that in the world of business.
Yeah. I mean, I think oftentimes people want to start something on a whim. It's like, I want to start another t-shirt company because I really like cat memes. And so I'm going to just do a cat meme t-shirt company. And you're like, well, are you going to be passionate about that for a long time? So in my first book, Do Cool Shit, I actually lay out the 3 simple questions to ask yourself before starting any business. And I think that also helps weed out a lot of kind of the stuff that you think you might want to do, but doesn't make any sense actually. So the first question is, what sucks in my world? So there has to be a pain point that starts with me. So for me, having stomach aches was my very first pain point, which led me to start my first gluten-free farm-to-table pizza concept, which is still running to this day, 18 years later in New York City. Having period accidents every month on my period. I'm actually wearing my things right now because I've had period accidents every single month. And it was just so messy. I'm a very heavy bleeder. And it was just one of those things where I'm like, always had to interrupt my day until I invented a new possibility, which is a pair of underwear that just backs you up. And then, I had a thyroid issue for a couple of years, which led me to poop a lot, which led me to like having a very chapped butt from wiping with toilet paper, which then led me to jumping the bath shower to wash myself, which then led me to getting a bidet from my ex-husband, and then the bidet changed my life. And I, wanted to bring the best in class affordable version of that to the American people. So what sucks in my world? Like, it starts with my problem. And then the second question is, does it suck for a lot of people? Well, 1 in 5 Americans eat gluten-free. 1 in 5 Americans are lactose intolerant. There's so many people with GI issues today. Every single woman can raise their hand and say, I have had period accidents in my life, and I would want some kind of a backup to protect me, like, when I'm on my period. That'd be amazing. To not have to just make a mess. Every human who has any type of chronic UTIs, hemorrhoids, fissures, itching, who's been pregnant, who before sex, after sex, want to feel sexy, clean, use a bidet, wash yourself, get a precise shower for your butt. It's a problem that everybody has if you're actually using just dry toilet paper, which is disgusting. So does it suck for me? What sucks in my world? Does it suck for a lot of people? And the third question is, can I be passionate about this issue, cause, or community for a really long time? And I think that's where people get a lot stuck in. It's like, can I be passionate about women's issues? Yes. Can I be passionate about food? Yes. Can I be passionate about saving millions of trees and up-leveling our health and hygiene in life? Yes. For the rest, as long as I need to, yes. And so, they say it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. It's like, oh, as an example, how long do you think it took LaCroix, the drink LaCroix, like LaCroix, the drink,
Yeah.
to become a thing? People are like, oh my God, it popped up out of nowhere. Guess how old LaCroix is, LaCroix?
How old?
Guess.
20 years. I'm guessing because you just told me it was 10 years to make an overnight success. So I'm now assuming it's been around a while.
It's like
30. Really? 35?
Yeah. And only popped up out of nowhere like 5 years ago, when you saw them at Whole Foods
Right.
everywhere. So it just takes,
and now everyone is talking, everyone knows what LaCroix is.
Yes. And so
it feels like that with my career. I've been keynoting for 10 years. And I think like even just now people are maybe starting to hear about me, and that took 10 years of no one knowing who I was to actually happen.
Yeah.
So you've mastered all these movements. You have a lot going on and you're an author, you're a keynoter, you have all these businesses. What is the thing that has brought you the most joy or that you've been the most passionate about in your varied career?
I would just say like solving problems and like, it's like my whole thing is like up-leveling people and the planet. Can I can have all of these things that have been put, that I've, invented with my amazing teams, like supported people and planet. Yes, 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 across the board. Yes. And so I think it's always fun. It's like every month I use my period products. I use things every single day. I use Tushy. When I'm in at restaurant, when I want to just go and indulge on a piece of pizza, I go at my restaurant because it's gluten-free, farm to table, local, and I can eat it without stomach aches. So it's like, it's solving my own problems. And when I see people enjoying it too, like, oh, this is the first gluten-free pizza I've had in my whole life. I opened it 18 years ago. There was no gluten-free pizza place around. And so people were like, I haven't eaten pizza in like 20 years. Like, and it just feels so good to like, all these women like at Burning Man come up to me and pull their pants down, be like, I'm wearing my thanks, and like, everyone, it's like I've received so many messages being like, whenever I take a shit, I think about you. And I'm like, thank you, so it's just totally gratifying when you have millions of people using your products and they're like truly feeling up leveled,
Yeah. So before I had ever heard of you, I knew about Tushy. I have a Tushy. I've had a Tushy for years. I got a second Tushy when I moved and my landlord broke my first Tushy when he was trying to uninstall it. So here's what struck me about that product, and that is the brand authenticity that came through in every piece of, the instruction manual and the website and the order email, like everything that came through. I thought, man, this brand has such a clear and authentic voice. Does that voice reflect your voice? Is that your voice, or was that something that was collectively created by all of the executives and employees and marketing people that were on that team together?
I think it always starts at the top with permission, right? And it's like a permission slip to be fully yourself. We naturally attract people who want to say poop, who want to be authentic, who are funny because we're in the business of poop, even at things like we wanted to make bring in people who are funny, who didn't take themselves so seriously, who are artful, but still, just like you're texting your best friend, like you're just relaxed in yourself. And I think being authentic attracts authentic people. And so as a result, the work that's being put out is authentic. It's not like, I wonder what people want me to say and how they want me to say it, and I'm going to say it that way, versus like, what do we authentically want to share? Like, what is bubbling up inside that, like, oh, I have an idea. Like, let me, like, my team, like, constantly is like, I have an idea for this, like, cool idea, like this cool campaign. Like, what do you think? And it's like, yes, like, go do it. And so it's this permission slip. And I think the one thing that I get often from my Tushy team is like, I just feel the permission to be myself. And that just feels like so good. And I think because of that, great authentic ideas come through for everyone on the team. So it's always collaborative, it's always collective. But I think like the world of authenticity has to come from the permission from like the leadership, right?
So can I ask you for some personal advice, not to like take this off topic, but hopefully it's interesting. So I got a TED Talk. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to be recording in a few weeks, and I've written the thing. I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. It's a thing I'm super passionate about, which is how to get people to give a shit. And so the big question, and I just had a whole conversation with all the people on my team yesterday, is can we call it that? I mean, you have a book, do cool shit, right? I mean, you chose to curse. That's authentically your brand. My TED Talk, though, why do you make that face?
How to get people to give a shit? There's no, like, the word shit it's not a curse word anymore. Like, give a shit is such a, like, how to get people to give a shit is a great TED Talk title. I think it's a great.
There are people on my team who think it's vulgar and are offended by the sentiment, right? And they said, if you're going to turn someone off, then you don't want to do that. You want to be inclusive in your messaging,
you can't be to everyone. And I think that's the thing. If you're trying to be everything to everyone, you're going to be nothing to anyone. And so it's really, really important to be authentically you. If it feels you to say that, then say it. If you're just trying to listen to, like, I remember when I went through some crazy shit in my life and I listened to like some super sorority girl, like what are the crisis PR people like, don't say the thing that you're like, fuck, I should have been like, you know what? I'm going to be me. Thank you for your advice. Appreciate your cautionary, whatever, but like, no, thank you. Like, I think the most beauty that people want from you is your authenticity. Who are you? What do you have to say? How do you say it? That's why people like you, is because you're authentic. And as minute you start listening to like too much tapering and thing, obviously, like, it's important to take advice and like take feedback and like may the best idea win. Like, that's for sure. But when it comes to stuff like how to get people to give a shit, like that's not, if that's what you really want to talk about, then like, I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome. Like, I would click on that versus like how to get someone to like make you care about something.
Right, exactly. Like, that's the alternative, is how to get people to care. I mean, I don't even want to click that, even if the message is exactly the same. So now I want to know, how do you get people to give a shit? Because you get people to give a shit about a lot of different things. It feels like a superpower that you have. What's the secret to these movements that you create?
I've actually like really thought about that for a long time. It's like, how do you change culture? You talk about culture leaders, like how to change culture. Like, how do you get people to go who've been doing a behavior for generations to shift their behavior based on a product that you're introducing to the market? That's hard shit to get someone to like change a behavior. How do you do that? And so I kind of whittled it down to a thesis, which is a 3-pronged thesis. Prong number one, and it all kind of sounds like obvious, but it's actually not, because again, like, authenticity is at the root of all of it. But the first one is simply a best-in-class product. You talk about, you being like a great speaker, right? Your product of what you offer is really great, right? As you say, right? For me, my products are best-in-class products. I know that I can stand behind that. Our bidet is the best bidet in the market, the bidet attachment world. We have listened to our customers for over 8 years as far as like the things that they feel like need and all the overarching challenges that we've addressed. And it's the best bidet in the world. And it also looks dope. So best-in-class product, number one. Our Thinks underwear feels like a beautiful pair of underwear. It doesn't feel gross. My pizza is the tastiest pizza, like, in the realm of alternative pizza. It is the best. It rivals and competes with the best tasting regular pizza on the market. So best-in-class product, number one. super important to change culture. But then the other two are the most like are equally, if not more important, equally important. The second prong is considered artful design across every touch point of what you're offering, every touch point of your brand. So how you design the words, how you design the art. For me, specifically, it's the artfulness of it, but it's coupled with the third prong, which I'll get to in a second. But it's really, really how artful can you be in everything that you put out? Because if you're just, again, another cookie cutter thing that it looks like an ad or just looks like a website or look versus like, wow, like they made art. And when you make art, it makes someone lean in further. It makes you want to like step closer. You're like, wow, oh my God, they're talking about poop, but I already leaned in because it's so beautiful. Oh my God, they're talking about periods, but like, wow, that grapefruit looked so pretty with that background. Like, wow, like it just makes you open up your heart a little bit more when you're introducing something new in an artful way. And that's also best in class. The third prong is, again, as important as being artful and as having a best in class product, which is accessible, relatable language across every touch point of your brand, which means like whenever people are being too heady, too technical, too clinical, too medical, too care instead of give a shit, don't say period, Miki. No one's going to care about that. Say time of the month. Our product brand name is a woman, like our tagline is for women with periods. You know, our tagline for Tushy is for people who poop. You know, we have people that don't say poop, don't say periods. But guess what? That is what's changed culture and actually made people feel like I can say period. I don't have to feel shame. I can talk about poop and it's fucking cool because everybody poops, like no big deal. And so the way we think about writing and copy is not like how heady and technical and how can I say it in the way people want and everyone accepts it, but like, what do I text my best friend? How do I text my best friend? And how do you text your best friend? You text your best friend like quirky, funny, self-deprecating, talking shit, like just being silly and dumb. Like you're just you. You're authentically you. You're not trying to be someone else that you're not. That's why they love you. That's why you're friends with them. That's why they're friends with you. And so our copy is written like we're texting our best friend with an artful, beautiful aesthetic and with a best-in-class product. Those three together change culture. And I've seen that time and time again with my pizza, with my gluten-free farm-to-table pizza restaurant. You think all the New York City pizza people will ever want to eat alternative pizza when they're like Joe's Pizza fanatics? They come to us, they're like, wow, this shit tastes amazing. And wow, walking into a restaurant feels so good and your design is so beautiful. And the way you talk to me feels like you're talking to me. Like it doesn't feel like some alternative thing. You know,
right?
With Thinks and Tushy, it's like, oh my God, you said it's funny, it's self-deprecating, it's authentic. But if you go to our website, hellotushy.com, it's beautiful, it's artful. If you look at the way we present our bidet device, it feels like a cultural, like lifestyle product. It's not like some weird toilet device, right? Thinks is beautiful. So, right. So like all of those combined changes culture.
What's interesting is you're doing something subversive at the same time. It's not just about the success of the business. You're also changing the social norms of the business world, which has predominantly been one way. And then here you come disrupting it wildly, not just in form, but in content and the how you go about doing that. And it makes some people uncomfortable, which I love. It's like, yeah, get uncomfortable. The new boss is in town. Yeah. Okay. It just made me so excited. It's, it's interesting though. I mean, the resistors, the people who say that this is not an appropriate way to speak in this setting, do you come up against that or do they not talk to you directly? And how do you deal with it when they do?
I mean, we have investors all the time who called our investors of Tushy who are like, you're so crass. Like, that's why you're not like, breaking through the middle America people yet. We're like, this is how it goes. You get like the outliers first, you get the cool kids first, then that's how it goes. So it's like, be patient. Culture shifting does take time. Sometimes, it happens like this and that's like winning the lottery. Right. And then there's sometimes like Thinks and Tushy, both pretty known names now. It didn't happen that slowly. It's they're 7-8-year-old companies now, 10, 9, 10, Things started in 2014. Tushy started in, 2017, in 2015, but like really 2017. So like relatively still young, but they're still people who know the brands, right? And to hit ubiquity, we're talking middle America, like grandma from Middletown, like that's going to take time. I mean, LaCroix, like again, is a great product. Took 35 years. I'm not saying it's going to take 35 years today, but like you have to take a stand for something. Otherwise, it's going to take 100 years. You know, you look at like Dollar Shave Club versus Gillette. Guess how long it took Gillette to like to guess how long it took Dollar Shave Club to do what Gillette did in 100 years. That took Gillette 100 years to do. Guess how long it took from a customer acquisition perspective? It took them
10 years?
Three. So like it also can happen quickly, but they had an incredible campaign. Dollar Shave, it was very compelling. The way he talked about shaver was so fun. The founder story was so great. Like that Dollar Shave Club video, that opening video was amazing, right? Like, so sometimes it's going to happen quickly. Sometimes it can happen slow. Like it depends on what the product is, but you have to take a stand. Like he just like was funny and silly and dumb. And like, like that's what it takes sometimes, is to just be yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's what it takes.
I think it's a relief. It's a relief for a lot of people because there's so much canned content out there, and there's something that you can smell. You can just smell authenticity, and you don't necessarily know what it is about it, but you can just tell you're drawn to it. It's compelling, right?
Because people talk about authenticity in a fake way, like be authentic. But then you're like, I'm going to be authentic and wonder what they're going to say so I can say it in an authentic way, but exactly what they want me to say in an authentic way. And like, that's so contrived, right? Versus like being just true. Like, what's true for you? What's true for me? Like, what do I so deep inside of myself want to say? Let me say that in a way that's like thoughtful. I don't have to be rude about it. And sometimes you have to say period. And that's not rude. It's just the word is considered taboo in society that was created 100 years ago by like the patriarchy. Like, do we really care? Right? Like, no. Right. So you have to pick your battles, but you have to also just ultimately truth is what sets us all free. It's just true.
Yeah. Well, we have so many people that called in and want to ask you a question because they're just huge fans of yours. So let's get to it. Let's go to our first caller and see what they have for you, Miki. I can't wait to hear.
Hey, I'm Dave Matthews from San Francisco, California, and I love making makers. And what I mean by that is in the early 2000s, I worked with Tim O'Reilly and a big group of people to create Make Magazine, and that became Maker Faire, and it became syndicated across the US. So we called it the greatest show and tell on earth. So my question is for Miki. You and your sister could be the ultimate co-founders of any great company, but somehow you guys both go out in different directions and build all the things. So my question is, what gets you motivated to get up and create a new thing? It seems like every couple of years. And how do you two have such persistence to keep doing it? And you're not even co-founders together. So how do you find the teams to do all this stuff? Congratulations on all your success, and I look forward to hearing your answer.
That's so great. What a thoughtful human. Okay, well, to answer that, I would just say, honestly, like everyone needs a cheerleader in their life. I think everyone has like a best friend or a sibling or someone in their life that's like, oh my God, I have this idea. What do you think? Like, what are we, and you're just like talking mile a minute with each other. And that's my twin sister. That's Radha. And so like the two of us, we're so lucky to have each other to bounce ideas off of. And we're always like, oh my God, early morning dance party. She started the Daybreaker, which is an early morning dance movement before work starts. And it's like been all over the world. And it's 10 years old now. And it's just truly bringing joy to the masses. And when she first started, like I'm the number one ticket purchaser of Daybreaker. I've purchased the most number of tickets to Daybreaker. And I was the first sponsor to Daybreaker. Like my company, Tushy, like was the first sponsor during COVID. Like there was just like so much love towards one another. And she was the first cheerleader for Tushy and like things obviously co-founded. Like we just cheerleaded each other so much in our businesses where it just felt like we've got this. Like we've got a fan. We have at least a fan for what we're doing, and that fanned our flame. And I think it's so important to have someone in our life that we can just like ideate with and fan our flames with. And I'm so lucky that I have like a group of friends who we just constantly ideating, fan each other's flames, or, go on walks. We call it fam jams, where one of us comes and presents their idea and then we fan jam on it. And it's just the most fun to support our friends and each other. And when someone sells their company or raises capital or something great happens, we're like fist pumping as if it's our own. Like it's that level of like celebration and support. When I went through my crazy shit in my company previously, I had 20 friends come over like with a boom box with flowers, group hugging me, right before like crazy legal things I had to go through, which was so painful and hard for me while I was pregnant. It was such a crazy time. I had friends bring crystals to my house and I brought those crystals with me to the legal thing and put crystals all around me. Like it was like that level of like support. And I think anyone can do anything when they have a support system and cheerleaders, but that takes, like when someone asks me, what's your number one piece of advice in entrepreneurship? I would say build your community, build your friend group, show up for your friends. Oftentimes when we're starting companies, we're like, sorry, I'm too busy. Got to go to this thing. I'm working till midnight. Can't come. Sorry. And eventually you stop getting phone calls from friends. Like my sister and I, because we're together and we've never done that. We've always thrown the parties. We've always been organizing and we always show up for our friends, even when it's late night. Like our friend's birthday was at 11 o'clock at night. I have a kid and I'm like, I'm going to show up. We like went, even if it was for like 30 minutes or like 45 minutes, we showed up for them. And he was so touched. Like that level of showing up for each other is like what's going to get us through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So I think the long-winded answer to his question is like community, is friends, is like the energy that like the fans of being each other's fans, like truly fans our flames.
So I didn't know that was your sister. I'm a huge fan of Daybreaker. I mean, I absolutely, what you guys have in common, and I'm just figuring this out right now, is you solve the problem that like women like me have that no one else is solving. When I got sober, I was like, I miss dancing. How come there's no sober dance parties? And I found one and it was Daybreaker. And I just think that's so awesome. So you guys are the best. I'm such a fan of you guys.
Yeah, she's my dad.
So cool.
I'm seeing her tomorrow. We're going to spend 2 weeks together in the Amazon rainforest. We're doing a pilgrimage to the Amazon rainforest, and we're going to just be with the Oshawa tribe who've in the middle of the Amazon jungle. They've never seen the modern world, and it's just going to be this like incredible convening with nature and these nature people, these forest people. It's going to be so cool.
How old is your child? You have one?
So technically, because we're identical twins, I have two. I have her kid who's Soleil, who's technically and I have my kid Hero, who's 6, and her daughter is 4.5. So we have 2 kids. We always say that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. I have a 6-year-old too. So are you bringing the children to the Amazon? Yeah.
The only trip, like we took them this year to Japan, to Egypt, to Tanzania, to like, we took them all over Mexico, like all over the world this year. But like, this is the one, like I'm sitting ayahuasca for the first time in 6 years, like with the Oshawa tribe. And like, it's for grownups only this time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we're going, my sister and I are going to go, and with this incredible woman named Lynn Twist, who started the Pachamama Alliance, and she's 80 years old, and she's leading this pilgrimage into the Amazon. It's gonna be incredible.
That is so cool. I totally want to hear how that goes. I'm fascinated with ayahuasca. This thing is, I mean, I've gone to these silent retreats when I was going through my midlife crisis or whatever, right before I got sober. And all these people were saying, ayahuasca will change your life. You've got to do it. I haven't done it, but I've always been so intrigued by what the forest has to say to me.
You have a son or a daughter?
I have a daughter, Eleanor.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's a cute little one. Okay, so let's go to the next caller. We've got many people who have questions.
Hi, Miki. I'm Ani.
And I'm Brian.
And we're the manufacturers and founders of the V-Seat bicycle seat, which is the bicycle seat that is designed to protect your crotch while you're cycling and enjoying a wonderful ride. We have a question for you from founders of a product that is sometimes a little cheeky to talk about to another. How do you approach your marketing to make it exciting and fun when you talk about your products with your customers?
I think just super direct. It's like, is your crotch in pain? Do you have to use a shit ton of lube to like slather on there? Or can you use like, it's actually like pretty simple and straightforward. I think that's a great value proposition. Like, I biked for over a decade in New York every day for hours and hours. And I mean, I rode like a cruiser, so not like a road bike, but I know the road bike game and how like chapped your crotch gets. So I think just being very clear and just being like, do you not like, what, for all the cycling world, like they know this, they have to put that lube stuff down there, and how gross it is and how annoying it is and how just like, just messy versus this. Like, I think it's direct, just being, again, authentic, direct, like not saying time of the month, but saying period, not saying like going to the bathroom, but saying poop. Like, it's like, don't want to be chapped down there, use the VC, like pretty straightforward. I think that's, I think people want direct, authentic, just truth today.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was just talking about this with another person I did an interview with about authenticity at work, and in the HR world, right? In the culture management world, there's a lot of talk about bring your whole self to work, be fully authentic, show up as yourself. But a lot of people don't feel like they have the psychological safety in a workplace environment to bring their whole self to work because it's not the way that the higher ups would like you to show up, right? Have you seen that in your own experience in managing teams and people feeling like, well, what if the person that you hire is kind of uptight and really uncomfortable saying poop and does not like that kind of language, but then they feel pressure to do the opposite? I mean, what's your experience with that?
I think just the like attract the like, it's like attract people who want to say poop. Like we're definitely not gonna hire like a sorority girl who's like doesn't want to say poop or is too like, that's uncouth. Like that's not gonna, I mean, I love sorority girls too, don't get me wrong, but like, do you know what I mean? Like that type of stereotypical one that's just like, and I just like, we attract people who just love to talk about this stuff. I mean, my CEO, even like Jason, like he was like, oh my God, I've been talking about like writing jingles about poop. I've been like, he's a daughter too. And like, we talk about poop all the time when you have a kid. Like there's just like, it's just in the zeitgeist of his whole life. And so, I think it just attracts, again, like if you're an authentic person, you can just tell if they're going to be authentically talking about it, or if they're going to be like, haha, like uncomfortable about it. So like, you're just going to know, just like you said, like, when someone's authentic, I mean, when they're not. And so the same way, like always do the final like culture test with every new hire to be like, are they really one of us? Like, can they really like, like, and if not, no worries. It's just not a culture fit. That's okay. Like, cultural leadership is like also accepting that someone's either culture fit or not, and that's okay.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing to talk about? I mean, you give so many different keynotes. People ask you about entrepreneurship and marketing and authenticity and women's empowerment and blah, blah. I mean, like, what's your favorite thing?
I think like what lights you up. Like, just follow the thing. Like, what is that lights you up? And I think like following a lit path, I talk about that in my book, Disrupt Her. It's like, what is it that will get you to follow a lit path? And that lit path doesn't have to be one that's like linear. It's like people are like, oh, you're an investment banker, then you played soccer, and then you went to start a restaurant, then you work in periods, and now you're doing a poop, and then you're going to the mushroom. Like, how are you, like, where's you've written books in between? You're DJ, and you're like, who, like, what, why, And it's like, because it lights me up. And like, I'm following the path that lights me up. And actually, like what Steve Jobs said, like, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And it's like, oh yeah, like all of these experiences have led me to where I am today. So none of them were like, that was like out of left field. Like, it's just like that actually contributed to all the knowledge that I've gained today. In fact, like having this diverse knowledge is actually valuable in entrepreneurship or in setting your own path or doing whatever, because anything actually, because you're getting textured experiences, you're getting lots of different modalities. And I find it really sad oftentimes when I'm like, talk to a couple of my doctor friends who are like, ugh, like going to the hospital is really sad. I just want to like start a business. I'm like, well, go do that. Like, well, like just went through like 10 years of medical school and doctor, my family, everyone, like, it's like they feel trapped. Or even in relationships, like when people feel trapped in relationships, they're like, it's good. It's like, it's a, like we're like, it's a good relationship. We have a good relationship. I was in a really amazing relationship for 11 years. In the last 2, it was like, okay, And so and we had a beautiful kid together, and that was part of our dharmic path together. Andrew, I'm going to his house right after this. We're going to celebrate Christmas together with our kid. And I call him all the time. We hang out all the time, but we no longer are together. We're just best friends. And that's okay. And people are like, oh, like, is it considered a failure that you're no longer in relationship with the person that you've married and have a kid with? No, it's just transitioned. It's moved on and it's morphed. And am I fully lit up? Were we either of us fully lit up at the end? No. So like, we're now way more lit up, and now we can come back together and be like, fuck yeah, we did this. Like, it was hard for the separation moment, but now we're like, look at us now. Like, it's amazing. And so like, there's so many like ingrained, indoctrinated belief systems. Like that's why I wrote my book, Disrupt Her. It's like the idea to disrupt all of the notions around money, around career, around relationships, around friendships, around the patriarchy, around feminism, all these like ingrained things that keep us like gripping tight. It's like, how do you open your palm and like love with an open palm and soften into yourself and what's true? And it's like, hey man, like this relationship, like God, we got married in front of 250 people and fuck, like, you know, like I guess I laid in the bed, I'm just made. And it's like, no, man, like life is comes and goes like a fart in the wind. Like it comes and goes. Like, may we all be so deeply lit up, and may we be free from any feeling of anyone controlling us or what society says or what we should do. Like, fuck it. Like, live free. Like, open your palm. Like that. If that's one thing I can teach, that's what I would teach.
That's your legacy.
Yeah. And it's just what, anyways, I could talk all day about that in relationship, in business, and how that reflects back in our lives, you know, like,
yeah. So what do you say to the young people? I mean, I mentor a lot of 21, 22-year-olds, and I can talk about following your passion and being of service. And a lot of the time, I have no idea what I want to do. Nothing lights me up. I don't know what I want. How do you give the directionless direction?
Yeah. I mean, it's trial and error. It's like that's why it's feeling into what sucks in my world first. And
yeah,
it's like,
right.
You know, like for my sister, it was like, God, I hate going to clubs. Like we'd go to clubs and two of us would like dancing back to back, so no guy would like rope us or whatever, like drunk people, you know? So it was sort of like this feeling of like, I want to go dance sober where everyone can feel free and I can be in my deep feminine and just not have to be like here for the male gaze. Like it's constantly just like, or I want to fall in love, but it's going to be in a clean state. It's not like, you know? And so it's like, yeah, that feels like that makes sense. And I want to go do that. Oh my God, there's nowhere to dance. Like I'm going to go start that. And so it's sort of like, it often starts with pain points in your life where you're like, gosh, I just wish that this thing existed. And you're like, oh, wow, it doesn't. That's an opportunity. Do you have that problem too? Do you want something? Oh, and you're like, oh, wow, like there's an opportunity here. So like oftentimes there's pain points. And also it's like, you show up at an event and you get inspired by someone or something and you're like, wow, I'm going to follow that breadcrumb. Like that's, cool, you know? And so it's like, it doesn't always have to be a thing where you're like, I'm starting a thing. It's like, oh, wow, like I'm inspired by a thing. I'm going to go. Like I'm going to Lynn Twist a pilgrimage to the Oshawa tribe in the Amazon rainforest. It's not my thing. But like I'm following this breadcrumb. Wow, like the Amazon's calling me. Like, what is it going to teach me? Like, I'm going to follow this incredible woman who's like has this knowledge. Like, wow, like it doesn't have to always be a thing that you start. Like that's okay too. It's just like it's all about like in my book Disruptor, I talk about like the scout. You know, the scout is someone who goes into a forest to go find the path the other side of the forest before like the tribe goes, before the rest of the people have to cross the forest. And so oftentimes the scout goes on their own, and the scout goes and they run into like a fallen tree, or they run into a bear chasing them, or they run into a ravine, or they run into all kinds of shit. Does that scout be like, I failed, this sucks, I'm a loser? Or the scout just goes back and goes a different path and goes back and tries something else and goes back and tries something else until they get through and they're like, like I've hit salvation, like the sun, you know? And it's sort of like, it's a constant game of like, life's an experiment. Relationships are an experiment. people are where we live is an experiment. So many people like I just made my whole house. Like I just redesigned my whole beautiful home. Like I just like I love my home. Like I love it, and I'm selling it now. Like I'm done. Like I'm ready. Just finished it. Like it's time. Like and so it's sort of like it's like we get so comfortable and like we just get so like stagnant, complacent. Like we don't get like it's about the vitality in our veins, the aliveness, the lit upness. And like sometimes you're like, oh, this is comfortable. This relationship is comfortable. It's like a 7 out of it's good. Like this, I like my house. It's good. It's calm. It's like an old sock. I feel good in it. And some people that's great. And that's great. But I just think that there's, it's always fun to be like, what's on the other, like what else is out there? Like maybe like what else? Like what else? And like, that's okay if this path didn't work and you're like, let me find something like, oh, wow, I had no idea that going this path could unlock this feeling inside of me. But I was so scared to go this path. I didn't even know it was there. Like that's going to be the saddest moment on a deathbed where you're like, I didn't even know it was there for me to take. Like for me, having left a beautiful marriage, like I'm entering into one that's so cosmic and it's so different. Like that was so beautiful and amazing. And this is so different, but it's a different level of like connection of like cosmic. It feels cellular and cosmic. It's a different type of love that's just like, I didn't know was possible. Right. And so like, you can't explore those things until you're able to let something else go. So I don't know. Life's an experiment. I think it's important. Just maybe that's also a thesis. Like life's an experiment, treat it as such, and like you'll see, like wow, like so much new like explosions and magic when you're like this potion, like created this explosion. Like that's so cool, right?
That's maybe the next book, Life is an Experiment, or some much better title than that. Okay, let's go to the next caller.
My name is George. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm a founder. So the question I have is, what are some creative ways beyond traditional advertising spend that you use to get the word out about your products when you were still very early on in the process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always believe in earned media in the beginning, like not actually spending any money in marketing. Like I never had the money to spend either for any of my companies. So it had to be doing weird shit, doing crazy things. Like for Tushy, like the first thing we did was we made like these crappy DIY anal beads and sent them to all press. And like they wrote some scathing things about us initially, but then we had like Year of the Asshole event where I had at my house, where we basically had like a nude person and someone was painting a nude butt, and we had butt massagers, and we had like butt workout areas, and we had like chocolate cookies that looked like poop, and like the New York Times came, like New York Magazine came, like the Time Magazine came, like Bustle. I mean, like every major magazine came to my Year of the Asshole event at my house, like, and like for my restaurant, I had no money. I had no, I literally rode my bicycle I made these little boxes. I spent 25 cents on these boxes. I bought like 50 of them from like the whatever store, like the packing store, these little boxes. And I basically, my friend whose dad's a doctor gave me 50 IV bags to put in like these boxes. And my name of my restaurant was originally Slice. My first book, Ducal Shit, talks all about it. And the tagline is the perfect food, because pizza, when actually done correctly, has all the food groups in it. And actually it's considered a brain food, a thalamus food, and you crave it because it actually has all the food groups in it, which is why pizza is so good for you if done right. But we said the perfect food will be arriving shortly. So basically, so our name of our restaurant was Slice, and the tagline was the perfect food. And we made these little stickers and put them on these IV bags. The stickers would cost like 10 cents, whatever. We put them on these IV bags and wrote on the IV bags like a little note. And so basically what it said was, you open the box and there's a little card that said, the perfect food will be arriving shortly. Until then, don't eat anything. And then underneath that was an IV bag with a sticker on it. And on the sticker, it said, should the lack of sustenance prove to be debilitating, please insert tube into thing. And it was this random thing that was just like, and then underneath that was like, a little card welcoming them to like our grand opening to my little dinky restaurant on the Upper East Side of New York City, where I was not a chef. I have nobody, no experience, nothing. New York Times came in. Florence Fabricant of the New York Times, Flo Fab, like the illustrious, everyone wants, like every Michelin star chef wants Flo Fab to come. She came to my restaurant and covered it in a centerfold. I was 26 years old. I had no idea, like it was no business, right? Coming my little dinky restaurant. It was like so incredible. So like, and I rode my bicycle and I was able to calculate, I could put like 8 boxes and I made a route of where all the press was. So I wrote, like, I drew like a route. I'm like, okay, I can get to the New York Times, the Time Out, and Daily Candy, all this in like this one route. I can carry these 8 boxes. I'll do 8 boxes today on my bicycle. Tomorrow, I'm going to do these other 8 boxes on my bicycle with this route to these press places, and by myself, rode my bicycle with my boxes and delivered these ID bags to like all the press, and like figured out that like the mailroom basically gets like, you can deliver any mail to the mailroom and it gets to the person. Like that's how PR people do it. Like we thought we had to like get to the desk. We actually could just bring it to the mailroom and they'll just deliver it. So then I just learned that you can just deliver any package to any press in New York City, any writer, even if they're hard to get to, through the mailroom. And so I just did that. And then that's how we started. So like, you don't need money. You don't need connections. You actually just need like a good, funny, weird idea. Don't do a press release. Make a box that's got weird shit in it, and then go deliver them to the mailrooms of the different press houses, because they all have mailrooms. So that's what I learned. And you can do it for cheap and for nothing. Yeah. And same thing with things and with Tushy. All of them have done the craziest types of dumb shit like that worked.
Well, I have learned so much in this conversation, and I'm actually really excited for this last question. It is always my favorite question, which is, in all the interviews that you've done with the press, with podcasts, on shows, and et cetera, what is one question that you don't get asked that you wish you were asked more often?
Maybe like, when is it that I'm like my softest? Like when is it that I'm like my most like soft and slow and like feminine, like not like, like hard charging.
Yeah.
Like, that I'm, like the most calm. I think that's like a nice question to answer that I've never been asked that, I don't think. And I think there's a side of me that everybody knows, which is like the on the horse, sword in hand,
the
side.
badass. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's like that other half of me, which is like the soft, slow, like loving, present, like feminine, mommy, but like, also like just like goddess energy vibes, like, like that. And I think that's not a question that's ever asked of me. It's like, when are you like just like splayed out, And I think that's important. Like, I don't own a single handbag, but I get like 5 hours of body work done every week, for my to like really, really rest and be still and be like, it's forced meditation for 5 hours every week. And like, I get to really soften and slow down. And when I'm in, in partnership and relationship, it's like where I'm deeply soft, and I think you need that balance, because I think if you're just like all charge all the time, it's just not going to work. You're just going to burn out, and you're just not. So I think that's a really important piece. It's not necessarily work-life balance, because that's like meh. It's more like the soft, like where's the gentle, like the sweet, like where's that? How do you balance? How do you
and yet still. Yeah, I think it goes back to where we started around authenticity, that the hard charging badass leader woman is just as authentic as the soft part of you.
Yeah.
And the two don't have to be conflicting with each other. It's
separate.
It's all real. It's all real.
And there's really like the next phase for me of leadership, and the next phase for me of like my next company, which, I'm working on, is going to be like, what does soft power look like? Like, what is like being powerful, but being a feminine, powerful force feel like? And I think like that's my next sort of like sort of North Star. Like, how can I lead, but still like get everything done, still reach for the big goals and big, dreams, but do it like really from the feminine lens. And actually, like, I have a hunch that it's going to be even more successful and even better than the other ways. Although that other stuff was important. Like, you can't become a queen without being a soldier. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think like I've been a soldier for so long. And I think like I'm entering into like this phase of like what is really like, and again, like these terms like clean energy and goddess, like that stuff is like, can feel like contrived, but if truly authentically stated, like there is that lens of like, how do you lead from that deep feminine space where you're still like firm and strong. I look at my actually, my son's grandmother, Andrew's mom, and she has this like really, really powerful, feminine, soft leadership that like she can hold the room, but be gentle, but be super powerful. And it's like, it's incredible to watch. And the way even my son responds to her, he's like, may I, like when he's with her, he's like, like very like just well behaved and like just he follows and she's just like,
Yeah.
it's like, she just talks like this. And like, and he just like really is like in line, but she's like, now, what did I say? And she's like, yeah. He's like, wait your turn. And he's not like, but mama, with me, he's like, but mama, with her,
Right.
he literally waits his turn, but she says it with like soft power. And I'm just like watching this and I'm like, wow, that's the next phase of leadership for me. And that's what I'm watching and learning.
Oh, well, I'm going to watch and learn from you then. I cannot wait to hear more about that. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure. If people want to hear more about you, where can they go?
I mean, I'm mostly like on Insta and LinkedIn. It's like I do a lot of businessy stuff on like post on LinkedIn. But then my most authentic stuff is on Instagram. So just at Miki Agrawal on Instagram, and definitely check out Tushy at Hello Tushy. Don't go to tushy.com. It's a very graphic anal porn site. Go to Hello Tushy. Go to hellotushy.com. And then if you want to, like check out my books, Disrupt Her, Do Cool Shit. And then all of my projects are on my website, just mikiagrawal.com. So there's a lot of stuff, but you can maybe put them down. And but
thank you so much, Miki.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Culture Leaders. I'm Dr. Jessica Kriegel, hoping you found inspiration in today's story. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review and share your thoughts. And thanks for listening.
To connect and learn more about today's guest, visit the link section on this episode's show notes. Please be sure to connect with Jessica and the show at jessicakriegel.com. There, you'll be able to see all the episodes and learn more about transforming culture at your organization. This episode is a Culture Partners production. Until next time, keep shaping a positive culture. Thanks for listening.